Okay.
Does it remove the
Thank
fact
you.
that for the first time...
Thank you. Let me bring it back home here. You missed out a particular point in the question I asked, which was process. Liberals, let me put that to you. The Constitution talks about gazetting, for instance, in honoring late MK Abiola with the GCFR, and talks about, first of all, a declaration is made, and then it's gazetted before the announcement and the conferment of this. That's one. The other part of it is the process of announcing June 12th. So that question of process, especially based on the fact that the president had talked about what Nigeria needs is not restructuring, but adherence to processes. What do you think that this process cannot be countered? I mean, no lawyer will get up and go to court and say the president has flouted the Constitution.
He can't. I would not be surprised if somebody had not approached the court.
Already?
To declare those proclamations by the president as null and void, having not followed the constitutional provisions to making such proclamations. But
what does the Constitution say? What process does it recommend for such actions?
First and foremost, for declaration of, I wouldn't want to, because of time, I wouldn't want to belabor the process. But first and foremost, for also if you listen to the former chairman of the National Award Committee, former Justice Begori, they've been back and forth. Some also have argued, according to the provisions of the National Award Act, that such awards must be given, must be taken personally. And then the issue of gazetting before announcement and, all of that. Then on the issue of the public holidays, on, I can't really remember the section, National Holidays Act, So, but really, if you look at all of these provisions, because like we have all agreed that this is what Nigerians have yearned for, and so a lot of people tend to close their eyes to the provisions of the law. And so what the government can simply do, like it happened during Obama's swearing in, that the actual words were not followed. And so what they simply did was to redo it, redo the swearing in, behind closed door to comply with the provisions and the letters of the law. And so in this case, even though what had happened is people pointing out the processes, what can happen? The government can simply just go back. A proclamation has been made. You can simply just go back, follow the letters of the law, and then proclaim what had been proclaimed already. And so, because now, so that, the reason for this is so that tomorrow somebody mischievously cannot just wake up and say, look, I know the president wants to use this to score political points and so, but let's find a way of scuttling this. And so you approach the court. Please, looking at the letters of the law, because there's a spirit behind the law, there's a letter behind the law. And so looking at the letters only. In some cases, the court will look at both the letters and the spirit, the intendment, of the law. And so you don't leave anything to chances. You try just to redo it, and it's been accepted already.
Many are saying that exactly what you said, that there might be litigation arising from this, because the National Assembly, a few of them were actually up in arms against it, saying that it ought to have gone through them.
You see, that's where, for me, that's where the National Assembly always tries to create itself, paint itself as the enemy of the people. You should also learn to gauge the tempo of the moment, the mood of the people. And also, I also like what Saraki said. Yes, I agreed the processes were not followed, but being, a good gesture, what can be done is, find a way of quickly amending, and that's why you have erasers. You erase and correct. And so in this circumstance, what they can do, since the National Assembly also have recognized the fact that the president should go ahead with it. So I see that also as a resolution, adopting or rubber stamping what has been done. And so let's just quickly correct the processes, and flow with it and move to the next level, which for me is the ideas behind the process. And so that we don't belabor unnecessarily the process and we're leaving the issues. Because Ganifa Ayemi stood all his life stood for something. And so if those things are missing presently, even Abiola also stood for something. And if they are missing now, and then we have recognized, we've gone back to the history, recognizing the role they played. So there's need for also now, apart from that recognition, to begin to take it from, what did these people actually stand for? Okay. How do we replicate what they stood for? How do we ensure that, people also see them in that broader picture?
Okay. Mr. Ketchgood, let me bring this back to you. Is there a chance that anybody or someone in the future might want to reverse this decision of the president?
Yes, please. There is, because they can take it from the point of law and process and reverse it, either out of mischief or political negativity and the rest of it. And I think the solution is quite simple. There's a type of confession a father would make and the children will forgive anything. Imagine that the president goes back, fellow Nigerians. As you are aware, June 12th is an emotional issue. When the thought of restoring it in order to make all of us happy came, we all got so excited knowing how you feel that we went through with it. Our attention has, however, been drawn to the fact that there are processes that may have been ignored or not followed properly. And in that regard, and as a government that respects rule of law, we are doing so and so. So you gazette, you proclaim, and you do the rest of it. All of this will not take more than 30 minutes to 1 hour. But it will score a very strong moral point and re-emphasize the disposition to law, to rule keeping and the rest of it. And that way you abort the possibility of anybody doing that in future. So the answer is yes. Somebody can get up in future and say, yes, we know this award, this GCFR and GCON have been there for the last 21 years. But fellow Nigerians, we have a constitution, we're a law-abiding people. This award was done improperly, the processes were not followed, and therefore, in the name of the law, I hereby reverse them. Yes, that can happen.
Okay. Theoretically.
Theoretically?
Yes, theoretically. Practically, it's almost very difficult. There are only two areas involved when people are talking about these issues, where the National Assembly can legally say, look, we have a right to be involved, which is the Holidays Act, and that is if the National Public Holidays Act, that is if the federal government intends to make June 12th a national public holiday. Already, June 12th is a public holiday in many states, particularly in the Southwest. So there's no issue about that. That is if the federal government now says, and as far as I know, the president has never said that. So there's no violation there. The second aspect is only in relation to the National Honors Act, which is about whether you can honor somebody, you can award that honor to somebody who posthumously, who is not living, simply because you are required to be there in person.
Okay.
And that is the area that needs to be amended.
Okay.
If
we have run out of time completely. So your last word in one sentence,
My last word in one sentence is I think the president has done very well. I think there's a process in place to gazette it, and I think there's a process in place, to cure the defects.
Yes, quickly. Fantastic step by the president, and I also want to see the government take it to the next level by ensuring that they actually practice the ideas of what these people stood for.
Liberals, I'm told we have more time, so we'll just take a short break and come back. There's still more to talk about regarding this.